Hello and welcome, my name is Olive. So this class is going to be a 45-minute Ashtanga inspired sequence. So Ashtanga Yoga is quite a traditional practice. When you practice it, usually it's a primary series, and every single time you practice the sequence, it's the same set of postures. In general, the class can take about an hour and a half to do, so I reduced it to about 45 minutes, but I've also approached it with my own twists, a lot of active approaches. So I hope you enjoy. All you're going to need in terms of equipment is your yoga mat and a block if you would like as well. But yeah, we're going to start in a standing pose at the top of our mat, so I'll see you there. We're going to start at the top of our mat. We're going to go through 2 rounds of sun salutations, one of A followed by one of B. So at the top of your mat, you're going to take your big toes together, your heels ever so slightly open. Try spread your toes super wide and grip down into them. So you feel the balance between the balls of the feet and the heels. Your hands are down by your side, shoulders rolled down. Try to find a neutral position, so shoulders over your hips, bracing through the core, looking ever so slightly forwards. Lovely, so just take a moment here in Dandasana or mountain pose, checking in with your breathing. And because this is an Ashtanga inspired class, please feel free to start your Ujjayi breath if that is something that you practice. If not, no worries, I will guide the breath as normal. Cool. So on your next inhale, we'll sweep the hands up, drawing them up above the head. Exhale, start to fold forwards, bend the knees if you need, fingertips touch the ground, look behind you. Inhale to halfway lift, so let's take hands to the shins, looking forwards, drawing the belly button in. Exhale, hands come down, stepping back to your plank position. So inhaling here, engaging and bracing. Exhale, let's come down to the knees and whole body down to the floor, nice and slow. Untuck the toes, push through the hands. Inhale to lift the chest as high or as low as you would like to go, before exhaling, arriving to downward facing dog. So we're going to be in downward dog for 5 breaths. So feel free to pedal out through the legs, loosen up through the head, give it a little shake. Breathing in through the belly, the chest, the sides and the back of the body. Let's go for one more breath here. Next inhale, looking between the hands, stepping or jumping yourself to the top of the mat, arriving to halfway lift. Exhale, folding yourself forwards. Inhale, pushing through the feet, draw the hands up and above. Then exhale, releasing down by your side to Samasthiti. Lovely, so we'll go into 1 round of B. So taking the feet as wide as your hips to start with. When you're ready, inhale, you're going to bend the knees, hinge at the hips, draw the hands above the head to chair pose. Exhale, folding yourself forwards. Again, keep the knees bent as long as you need. Inhale to halfway lift, place the hands wherever's comfortable. Exhale to land those hands, step yourself back to your plank position. Again, inhale, prepare, brace. Exhale, lower down with or without the knees, take your variation. Inhale to open through the chest. And exhale into your downward facing dog. So we're going to take a high lunge variation today. Inhaling, we are going to float that right leg straight behind us, 3-legged dog. Exhale, look forwards. Inhale, shoulders over the wrists, plant the foot between the hands, ground down through the legs. Inhale, sweep both hands up and above your head, arriving to high lunge. So as we're here, engaging through the glutes, drawing, bracing through the belly button, shoulders over those hips. Go for one more breath here. Exhale, hands down, stepping yourself back to plank. When you're ready, lowering down. Inhale to open that chest. And exhaling back to your downward facing dog. Cool. So this time, left leg steps forwards. Inhale, float the left leg behind you. Exhale, look forwards. Inhale, plant that foot between the hands, ground down. Next inhale, sweep those hands up and above. Again, bracing through the core, try not to flare the ribs. We'll go for one more breath here. Exhale, hands down, step yourself back to your plank. When you're ready, lowering down, bracing. Inhale to open. And exhale into your downward facing dog. So again, 5 breaths here. making sure we are breathing consciously so we're not holding on to the breath. Really trying to push through the hands, so fingertips, knuckles, heel of the hand included. And feel free at any point to obviously keep the legs bent, keep them nice and soft. They don't have to be dead straight. Cool. One more breath here. Next inhale, looking forward, stepping or jumping yourself back to the top of your mat, arriving to halfway lift, inhaling. Exhale to fold. Inhale, bend those legs, hinge at the hips, draw the hands up. Then exhale, releasing to Salutation. So hopefully you're feeling a little bit warmer, body is ready for the main practice. So from here, we're going to take our hands to our hips and hop our feet about hip distance apart. So our first forward fold, we're going to take our index and our middle finger, wrap it around our big toe, and our thumb's going to come on top. So take an inhale, try to find length through the spine without overextending. And then on the exhale, you start to push the hips behind you, begin to fold to about 90 degrees, again bracing through the core. If at this point the legs need to bend, please let them do so. And then we take the index and middle finger around the big toe, thumb comes on top. We inhale, straighten up the arms, look forwards, fill the lungs with air. And then on the exhale, you drop the chin to the chest, bend at the elbows, begin to fold yourself forwards. So we're going to be here for 5 breaths. So take as long as you need to be comfortable to fold. Try to find that balance between the heel, between the toes. And like I said before, those legs don't have to be dead straight. Right now my hamstrings feel a little bit tight, so I'm not going to force them to go any straighter than they need to be. Keeping that breath regular. And on your next inhale, start to straighten up those arms, looking forwards again. Hands come to the hips, squeeze the glutes, push through the floor, slowly coming all the way up through to standing. Lovely. And then from here, we're going to take a step back with the right leg, turning all 10 toes to face the long edge of the mat. So we want about a leg's distance between our feet. When you're ready, your right toes are going to turn towards the back of the mat. We're coming into a variation of Trikanasana. So inhale, opening out those hands, turn the palms the same way as your chest. Exhale, as you reach forwards with the right hand, try to press your hips behind you. Let the right hand land wherever it wants to go. So it could be mid-thigh, could be mid-calf, maybe you bind around the big toe, or fingertips rest to the ground. Also, please feel free to use your block if you would like. So, once we're here, we're going to make a little bit more of a lateral movement or a lateral stretch for the body. That left hand is now going to start to reach up towards the back of our mat. So the shoulder is coming over the ear, and we're thinking about creating this lovely line from the left middle finger towards the left hip. So breathing here, you might need to adjust the bottom hand. As you can see, I'm holding that ankle now. But it's a really beautiful stretch for, again, the diagonal line in the body. We're going to take one more breath here. Exhale, look down at the right leg. Inhale, bring yourself all the way back up to where we started. And from here, coming into our sort of twisted Trikanasana or revolved Trikanasana. So you start to pivot in your back foot to about 45 degrees. So it's sort of pointing towards the top corner of your mat. Both hands come to your hips. Inhale, you're going to draw your left hand up and above your head. Exhale, start to press the hips behind, reaching forwards with the left hand. And then when you're ready, take it down to, again, either the right shin or the ground on the inside or the outside of the foot. Taking a breath in. Exhale completely. At the end of that exhale, start to rotate towards the right hand side. Now this gets tricky because the legs are in quite a sort of like unbalanced position. So take a little bend in the legs if you need. Focus on really grounding down through the back foot. And if you have this rotation in your thoracic spine where the shoulders are stacked one on top of the other, then you can allow the top hand to open up. There's no point in trying to open the top hand if we haven't got this initial rotation in that thoracic spine. So one more breath here. Exhale, looking down at the right leg, slowly bring yourself all the way back up, lift the hands above the head, And then turn all 10 toes to face the long edge of your mat. Quite a little bit of a balancing game. So from here, palms face the ground, inhale to lengthen. Exhale, forward fold. So push the hips behind you, start to fold to about 90 degrees. Now we're going to hover here for a little bit, just check in with our balance. So we're thinking about, again, bracing through the core, squeezing the glutes, engaging muscles on the inner, the outer thigh as well. Lovely. So one more breath here. Then exhale, take those hands down to the ground, about shoulder distance. Now see where they want to go. You can walk the fingertips back so they're in line with the toes, or keep them further in front. But again, we inhale to lengthen, look forwards. On the exhale, drop the chin to the chest, start your forward fold. Bending in the legs if you need, going as deep as you would like. I'm just going to turn angles. So in our forward folds, a lot of it is to do with how much the brain trusts that we can control ourselves falling towards the ground, in essence. So the way that we do that is by regulating that breath, being conscious about it, finding the correct engagement between the toes and the heels, and again in the glute muscles, legs on the muscles on the legs on the inner and outer thigh. So let's go for one more breath here. And when you're ready, inhale, straighten up those arms, looking forwards. Release the hands to your hips, squeeze your butt even more, slowly coming all the way up through to standing. Take an inhale, exhale to release. Lovely. And then when you're ready, left toes turned forward, step yourself into the top of your mat to Samasthiti. We're going to go through a sun salutation to just reset before we come to the other side. So when you're ready, inhale, sweep the hands up. Exhale, fold yourself forwards. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, step back to your plank. So again, inhale, prepare. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, open up the chest. Exhaling to downward facing dog. Cool, so as we go throughout this class, I might do some different variations of the sun salutations. So of course, by all means, please change up your own, see what works. And if you ever just want to skip out the bit where we lower down to the floor and come to the heart opener, you can come just straight to downward dog when we step back. It's important to see how you feel and try to adapt the practice accordingly. Cool, so we'll take one more breath here. Next inhale, looking between those hands, step or jump to the top of your mat, arriving to halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, drawing the hands up and above. Then exhaling to Samasthiti. Lovely, so onto the second side. Again, hands come back to the hips. We're going to hop those feet about hip distance apart. This time with our forward fold, we're going to stand on our hands. It's a little bit of a weird pose, but I will give a modification. So inhale again, we try to lengthen without flaring through the ribs. Exhale, start to hinge at the hips, press the hips behind you. So folding to about 90 degrees. Now bend your knees if you need. You're going to take the toes up to the wrist. So finding the balance in the heels and the top of the hand. If this feels like it's way too much, what you can do instead is take the tops of the hands to the shins or maybe just above the ankles. See what feels good. Again, we inhale, lengthen. Fill the lungs. Exhale, we begin to fold. See if you can start to send those elbows out to either side. So you have a little bit of room to fold. You also get a lovely opening to the front of the deltoids of the shoulders. Good. But this time, it's even trickier. You've got to really focus on finding that balance in the heels and, like I said, the wrist. So what muscles do you need to activate to keep the stability? Glutes, hamstrings, quads, and of course the breath. So one more breath here. Inhale, start to slowly straighten up the arms, step off the feet, take hands to your hips, squeeze the glutes, slowly standing all the way up to standing. Lovely. And then from here, as you release, take a step back again with the right leg. This time turning those toes to face the long edge of the mat. The left toes are going to stay facing forward. So into our triangle or Trikanasana, opening out those hands, palms face the same way as the chest. Inhaling. Exhale, reach forwards with the left hand, press the hips behind, left hand lands, gaze up towards the right hand. So try and really spread the fingers. So again, take a moment, establish where this left hand wants to go. And then when you're ready, inhale to draw that right hand up and over the ear, coming more into that diagonal stretch. As we're here, try to really press down into the back leg because all of our weight is forwards. We need to have an anchor. And see that you can work on this external rotation to the right hip so it stays facing towards the ceiling. Cool. We'll go for one more breath here. Exhale, look down at the left foot, push through the ground, slowly coming all the way back up through to our starting position. And again, from here, drawing that right foot in to about 45 degrees, adjust your positioning as you need. Take a moment. Again, the foot is sort of facing up towards the top corner. Both hands onto the hips. Inhale, we reach the right hand up. Exhale, reaching forwards with that right hand. Take it down to the left shin or the ground, wherever. Inhaling. Exhale completely. At the end of the exhale, rotate towards the left-hand side. Again, make sure you're engaging and pressing down into the back leg, so really activating the posterior chain of the back. And if you have that rotation where shoulders are stacked, maybe you start to open up through the left hand. So that is like a little prerequisite. It's a way to know that you can. So please don't feel disheartened if you have to keep the hand on the hip. If anything, that's just letting you understand your body more. Cool, so we'll take one more breath here. Slowly look down at the left foot. Inhale, come all the way up, reach the hands above the head, and then turn all 10 toes to face the long edge of the mat. Hands open out. So this time, we're going to take the hands to our lower back. So fingers are going to face down the body. We're going to try roll the shoulders back and squeeze those elbows together. So a little bit more of an active approach to our forward fold. Inhaling here. Then exhale, push the hips back, start to slowly fold towards the ground. And like I said before, please bend the knees if you need. So as you start to fold, once again, we've got to establish that weight distribution between the toes, between the heels. And we're trying to work on activating the muscles in the upper back and everything that supports our shoulders. So really try to squeeze those elbows together as if you're holding like a beach ball there. We'll take one more breath. And then inhaling, start to push through the ground, slowly, slowly coming all the way upright. Take an inhale at the top. Exhale, release the hands. Lovely. When you're ready, turn the left toes forward, step that right leg in, arrive back to the top of your mat. Inhale to sweep the hands up. Exhale, folding yourself forwards. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, step back to your plank. Again, inhale, prepare. Exhale, lowering down. Inhale to open the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lovely. So again, we're going to spend about 5 breaths here. Check in with the body, see what you need, what's going on with the breath. And then we're going to have a look at some leg balances. Cool. So I'll take one more breath here. Next, inhale, looking between the hands, step or jump to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, push through the ground, lift the hands up and above the head. Exhale, release to Salutation. Lovely. So our balances, it's quite a long sequence, so please feel free to just like drop the legs and shake them out whenever you need. But we're just going to start by really spreading the toes nice and wide, trying to grip down into all of them, especially the big toe. So from here, grounding down into the right leg, hands by your side, we're going to take an inhale and draw the left knee up to our chest. As close as it will go. Again, try not to fold forwards here or lean too far back. We want to try to stay in a neutral position. So we are exploring more active postures of like traditional Ashtanga poses. So no hands. We'll take one more breath here. On your next exhale, I want you to slowly open the left knee out towards the left-hand side, but keep those hips facing forwards. So we've only got so much range before the hips start to twist, so just see what that limit is. Again, breathing, try to keep this knee as high as possible. Your quads, your hip flexors might be shaking at this stage, that's fine, because mine are, but breathe. And then slowly, slowly, we're going to draw it back, point the toe and extend the leg away from you. Now this is a killer. Try to again have hands to the hips, keeping them level, breathing here. The leg is as high or as low as you want it to go. We're going to go for one more breath before coming to figure 4. Bloody hell. When you're ready, you're going to bend that knee. Take the left ankle on top of the right knee, hands to your heart, inhaling here. Exhale, you're slowly, slowly going to bend into that right leg. Now, the beauty of this pose is that you can stay higher, or you can find yourself sort of midway, or maybe you might want to take the fingertips down to the ground. Just see where you're comfortable. Depends on a lot of things, but see where you find that sweet spot where you can still balance. Cool, we're going to take one more breath here. Now, regardless of where you are, I want you to start to slowly, slowly straighten up that leg. We're going to once again revisit knee back to the chest. Before exhaling, let that left foot land, bend both knees, draw hands above the head, coming to your chair pose. So chair pose right now. Again, you can be as low as you like, or as high or as straight as you like. Hands can even be out in front of you. So explore what feels best. We're going to breathe for 2. And then on 1, exhale, fold yourself forwards. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhaling, hands down, step yourself back to plank. Again, inhale, prepare. Exhale to lower down. Inhale, open through the chest, squeeze the glutes. Exhaling to downward dog. Got Jax joining me now. He was intrigued by that candle. So we're going to take a couple breaths here. By all means, shake out through the legs, give them a little bounce before we come to the other side. Lovely. Next, inhale, look between those hands, step or jump back to the top of your mat, halfway lift. Exhale, folding. Inhale, push through the ground, circle hands up. And exhaling to Samasthiti. Lovely, so we're going to try that balance sequence on the other side. Left leg sometimes is a little bit trickier, so again, if you fall, don't worry about it, just take your time to come back. So, spreading the toes nice and wide on the left leg, hands by your side, inhale, draw the right knee up towards the chest. Again, as high as you want it to go without sort of compromising through the spine. Let that left leg shake, let it work. Cool. Then when you're ready, exhale, slowly open the right leg out to the side. Try to keep the same elevation in the knee, engaging the glutes. Again, if you need to bend that left leg, please let it happen. But both hips are still facing forwards. Nice. Slowly, slowly draw that knee back to center. Point the toes, extend the leg away as high as possible. Breathing here for 3. For 2, let your legs shake. And then on 1, take that right ankle on top of the left knee, hands to your heart, inhale here. Exhale, slowly sink as low as you want to go on this side to your figure 4. So again, rights and lefts notoriously work and feel different, so you might be able to go maybe a bit lower in this pose on this side, but it also might not feel as good, so see where you want to stay. Cool, take one more breath here. And then slowly, wherever you are, start to slowly lengthen all the way back up. So we return to bringing that knee back to our chest. Exhale, right foot lands, hands above, come to your version of chair pose, whatever that looks like. But again, engagement in the glutes, bracing through the core. One more breath here. Exhale, fold yourself forwards. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, hands down, step back to your plank position. Inhaling, exhale to lower down. Inhale, open the chest. And exhale to downward facing dog. Lovely. So once we are here, again, let those legs shake out. Give some love to the right, to the left, to the neck. Pushing through the shoulders. So remembering that downward dog is a pushing movement, so we want to feel that sort of safety, that activation in the shoulders. Cool. Cool, so we're now going to bring ourselves into some seated poses. So to get there, we can do a little jumping transition, which I will instruct. If this feels like it's too much to do right now, don't worry. Just bring yourself down to seated by coming into tabletop and then swiveling those legs around to the front. So a little jumping transition. We look in between the hands. We tell ourselves we're going to land there in a cross-legged position. A little bit of positive self-talk. You come up nice and high onto the balls of the feet. You start to bend the knees, load the legs. You take an inhale, you hop your feet into the air, hips lift. As the legs land, they cross, and you release the legs in front of you. It will get easier with time, so take as long as you need to practice. So wherever we are, feet are going to be extended in front of us. We're going to come into a prep pose for our forward folds. Dandasana is actually super tricky. It's very, very active. So we start by taking our hands by our side. Depending on our arm length, it might be lower down the leg, further behind, or right next to the hips. We're going to start by really trying to peel the toes back towards us and maybe even getting the heels off the ground. So quads are super active. Hands are going to be by your side, but they're going to float about an inch off the ground. Shoulders roll them back and down, and you're going to try to really push the hands down to the floor, but they're still floating. Then from here, chin drops to the chest. We're going to breathe. We're going to feel that tension, that strength created in the upper body, in the lower body, and the bracing of the core. Checking in with the breath. One more breath here. And then slowly releasing everything, let it relax. Draw the heels towards the body and catch the outsides of your feet. So into our forward fold, take an inhale, lengthen. Now on the exhale, I want you to slowly slide the legs away, keeping the contact with the feet. So you only go as far as you can still control. Again, we think about creating the same engagement to the quads, to the hamstrings as we start to fold. Now, when you get to your limit, wherever that is, see if it's more comfortable to continue looking forwards as you breathe into the pose and fold, or whether it feels better to take the chin to the chest and maybe you find a little bit more depth there. It works differently on everyone because in one pose, say when I'm looking forwards, I'm more into spinal extension, whereas when I look towards the ground, I'm more into spinal flexion. Everyone has a different bias and what they prefer, so see what works for you. We're going to take one more breath here. And then inhale, you're slowly going to release the hands either side, straighten up the legs, coming all the way back to our seated pose. From here into a reverse tabletop, so bend the legs, plant the feet about hip distance apart, fingertips come behind you. You're going to squeeze your shoulder blades together, push down through the toes, the heels, inhale to lift the hips as high as possible, squeezing the glutes, engaging through the inner thigh, activating the calves, and maybe start to slowly tip your head back behind, opening up through the chest. Again, really try to push through the hands, have that stability in the shoulders. Breathing here for 3, for 2, and then on 1, gently again, bring the chin back to the chest, then let those hips lower all the way down to the floor, releasing those legs in front, and just roll through those wrists for a second. Lovely. So from here, we're going to come into Janus Asana. So we're going to start by extending that right leg straight out in front of us and drawing that left foot towards the inner thigh. I'm going to change angles so you can see. If you would like to have a block underneath that left knee, please feel free. But we're going to start in a very similar approach to our forward fold. So right leg is going to bend. We're going to catch the outside of the foot. And from here, we inhale to lengthen. And exhale, start to slowly straighten up that leg. See whatever depth we get to. And again, determine whether or not it feels better to take the the forehead down to the knee, or look beyond the toes as you continue the fold. Whatever works for you, pop it in. And then once you've established that sort of end point, we continue and focus on our breathing. So think about finding that length through the front leg. Try to peel the toes towards you. So again, we get a little bit more activation to the hamstrings and the quads. We'll take one more breath here. And then slowly, as you start to straighten out that leg completely, coming all the way back up to our initial starting pose, and then lift up that left knee, bring it into the body. So coming into Asana D, so a little twisting variation, or it's Asana C. So you're going to see if there's about a hand's distance between your right thigh and the left foot, just because it sort of establishes a hip distance apart and we keep our glute on the ground. So into a twist, we're going to start by holding that left knee with the right hand, and the left hand is going to go straight behind us, push through the ground, try to sort of find length in the spine. Now we start the pose looking forwards, take an inhale here. Again, exhaling completely. At the end of that exhale, then rotate towards the left-hand side. So establish whether or not you want to stay here holding that knee, or maybe you draw the elbow over the knee, the hand comes down, or maybe you take the elbow over the knee and the hand comes up. Whatever works for you, find that pose. But as we're in the twist, remember we aren't owls. We can't twist a whole 180. There's only so much rotation we have in our thoracic spine, so the rib cage section of the body. So you want to find that initial rotation there, then let the neck and then let the eyes follow. Good. Breathing for 2. And then on 1, slowly, slowly looking forwards, releasing those hands either side, extend that left leg, give it a little shake. And then when you're ready, slide the feet in. Start by catching just below the knees, lifting the feet off the ground, arriving to a bent-legged boat pose. So roll the shoulders down, try to bring your spine into neutral. And then if you feel comfortable, maybe you release the hands either side. Maybe you explore boat pose or straight legs. See whatever works for you. I'm going to hold on to them. Cool. We're going to take one more breath here. And then our next little transition, we cross those legs in, we rock forwards, we plant the hands, we try lift the hips as high as possible, and then slowly, slowly sink all the way back down, arrive back to boat pose for 5 breaths. So again, this is where you can modify, change it up, make it easier, make it harder for yourself. Lovely. One more breath here. And then this time we cross those legs, we plant those hands, we step back into our plank position. When you're ready, move through that vinyasa. Take your time, pay attention to the breath, the pose, before arriving to your down dog. Lovely. So the reason why we do that little lift in between boat pose is because traditional Ashtangis would do boat pose and then float their way all the way up into a handstand and float down to boat pose about 5 times. So that's a little way to sort of pay homage to that. Cool, so I'll take one more breath here. And once again, little jumping transition down to seated, or come to your knees if you'd rather. Start by coming up to the toes, look between the hands, bend the knees, load the legs. As you hop the hips, cross the ankles, and release the feet in front of you. Cool. So once again, we're going to come back to Dandasana, but I have a slight modification if you would like. So we start with hands by the side, we flex those feet, we lift the heels off the ground, engage through the quads, hands float off the ground, chin to the chest. Now you can either stay here, or if you'd like to take it maybe a little bit further, you can practice floating stick pose. So it's where you really push through the hands, you lift the bum, and you see if you can lift the heels off the ground as well. It's quite a tricky one, so please feel free to just play around with it by maybe lifting one leg at a time. But yeah, I thought I'd pop it in because it is quite nice to explore. So wherever we are, we're going to take one more breath. And then let everything soften, let everything release. So back to our forward fold, slightly different this time. Once again, you draw the heels in. We come back to the index and middle finger, wrap it around the big toe, thumb comes on top. So again, inhale, look forwards. Exhale, begin your forward fold, sliding those legs away. Again, by now, maybe you've established whether you prefer looking forwards or looking down to the knees. So determine which one feels better for you, and start to slowly come into the pose. Again, keeping that breathing nice and consistent. What I tell my students quite a lot and what I do with my own practice, when I'm in a fold for quite a long period of time, I inhale, I try to lengthen a little bit more. And then I exhale, see if I can fold a bit deeper into that space. And I just continue that. Cool. So one more breath. And then slowly slide the legs away, releasing, taking hands where we started next to the hips. So coming back to our reverse tabletop, this time slightly different positioning with the hands. So feet are planted about hip distance, but this time see if you can turn your fingertips away. So we bias a little bit more external rotation to the shoulders. First way round was more internal rotation. If this really doesn't feel good, just come back to the previous way. But again, squeezing through the shoulder blades, push through the toes, the heels. Inhale to lift the hips, squeeze the glutes, slowly tilt the head behind you, opening up through the throat. Imagine again there's a beach ball between your knees. You don't want to pop it, you want to hold it there. So you're activating through the inner thigh. One more breath here. And then draw the chin back to the chest, slowly lower the hips all the way down to the ground. Release the legs, release the wrists, roll through when you're ready. Lovely, so Janus Asana on the other side. I'm going to swivel around again. You're going to keep the left leg extended, but draw the right foot to the inner thigh, or maybe like I said before, it's down the calf. Place a block if you would like. Start by bending that knee, catch the foot, inhaling here. Exhale, begin to slide the leg away as you fold forwards. Chin or forehead down to the knee or looking beyond the toes, whatever works for you. Think about driving that right knee towards the ground so there's a little bit more safety when you start this hip opening, engaging through the glutes, breathing nice and controlled. Let's go for one more breath here. And then as you release the hands coming all the way up, straighten up that left leg, picking up that right knee. Again, both glutes are on the floor, about a hand's distance apart between the foot, between the thigh. So into our twist, left hand holds that knee, right hand goes straight behind, push through the ground, lift and support the chest. So inhale, looking forwards. Exhale, slowly, slowly rotate. No, exhale completely. And then we slowly rotate towards the right hand side. Beautiful. Again, once we're here, establish what you want to do with those hands. Find the rotation initially in the thoracic spine, then let the head, then let the eyes move. Keep supporting through the base hand so we don't just collapse into the spine. And remember about the left toes. Try to flex them towards you. Lovely. Let's go for one more breath here. Slowly releasing, slowly coming forwards, extend the right leg away, give it a shake, and then when you're ready, drawing into your boat pose. We're going to do 2 of these again for 5 breaths, so find whatever position works. Breathing for 3, bracing through the core for 2, and then on 1 again, that weird little lift, cross those legs, plant those hands, lift the hips nice and high, slowly come all the way down, revisiting boat pose. Take whatever variation you would like. Breathing here, let the legs shake because they might for 2. Lovely. And then on 1, cross those legs in, hands land, step yourself back to your plank position. Exhale to lower. Inhale, opens the chest. Exhale, downward facing dog. Lovely. So again, before you come into our final little sequence, shake out, move any of the body if you need in any kind of way. And we're going to finish up with some heart openers and some inversion poses. So, when you're ready, back down to our seated position with the legs out in front. Take whatever approach you would like. And release the feet in front of you. So, heels are going to press down, draw the palms together, and slowly try to lower down 1 vertebrae at a time. So controlling the descent using the core, so the deep core muscles. It's pretty hard to land softly on the lumbar spine. And when you do land, reach your arms above your head, maybe roll through the wrists, roll through the ankles. Cool. So we're going to do 2 rounds of little bridge, and I will have some modifications as always. So we're going to start by planting the feet on the floor. Super important that you can feel the heels with your fingertips, because when we go up, we want to have the knees at least over the ankles, because when joints are stacked, there's more stability. So check in. Now envision again that you have a ball in between your knees. that you're holding lightly. You don't want to squeeze, you don't want to pop it too much. So activation to the inner thigh muscles. When you're ready, hands by your side, inhale, ground down through the big toe, the heel. Start to slowly lift up from the base of the spine, waving your way up as high as you would like to go, pushing the heels to the ground, hands release. So again, like I said before, feel the activation to the inner thigh muscles, the hamstrings, engagement in the glutes, and feel free to take your hands wherever they want to go. It's important here that we're not just engaging the glutes, because we want to have some form of internal rotation to the hips, not external rotation, because that's when you can start to put unwanted pressure on the lumbar spine. Lovely, so taking one more breath here, and then slowly waving down one vertebrae at a time, releasing. And as you come down, maybe just hug the knees to your chest, slowly let yourself rock side to side. Cool. So we are going to do it one more time. We either stick to little bridge, or we can come to full pose of wheel. It's quite tricky to get into, so don't worry if you haven't got that today or you're not feeling it today. So again, we start very similar way. Both poses, feet planted to the ground, check we can feel the heels with our fingertips. If we're coming into full pose, we take the hands next to our ears, fingertips face towards the feet, elbows face up towards the sky. So if we're coming into little bridge, again, start by lifting from the base of the spine, engaging the lower body, taking the hands wherever. But if we're coming into full pose, we start with the same initial lift, but as the hips start to lift, tilt the weight up into the hands, eventually lifting the head, the shoulders off the floor as well. So you want to make sure that you're not just using the quads as you get that lift, so the lower body isn't or the upper body, should I say, isn't doing all the work. You want to make use of all the muscles in the legs. So regardless of where we are, we again engage through the core. We should be breathing nice and easy. If we're in full pose, try to work on pressing and opening your chest towards the back of your mat. One more breath here. And then again, slowly coming down in a very similar manner, one vertebrae at a time, eventually releasing and hugging the knees back to your chest. Let yourself rock side to side. Beautiful. So into our counter pose, we're going to do fish. So come back to center, hugging the knees in. Rock up and down 2 or 3 times. I'm going to go for 3 rocks. And on that third rock, you're going to extend the legs away from you, straight out in front, point the toes. Hands are going to go next to your hips, or you sit on your hands, whatever's more comfortable. Lower down onto the elbows, onto the forearms. Try to really press them through the ground. Lift the chest, coming into extension, and then slowly tilting the head, looking behind you. Now you can do this pose with the head floating, or you can do this pose with the head on the ground. So determine what feels good for you. But again, you really try to press through the elbows, the forearms, so you get this really lovely opening to the front of the body. And a little bit of a release to the neck, because the neck can get quite compressed in little bridge. Lovely, so one more breath here. And then slowly draw that chin back to the chest, push through the hands, coming all the way up, releasing. And our final, penultimate pose is going to be shoulder stand. So as the hands release by your side, you're going to rock back, elevate the feet, take the hands towards the lower body, and you can stay here. You can move the legs, you can take feet behind your head, coming to plow pose, or maybe ear pressure pose. But as I've said before, if shoulder stand isn't working today, it's obviously absolutely fine. You can come to lying on your back with your feet elevated above your hips, or you can do this against a wall, or you can maybe put a pillow or a block underneath your sacrum as well. The point is that in this pose here, in this variation, there's no pressure on the neck, so it's easier to breathe. But in essence, the poses do exactly the same thing. It's all to do with sort of like draining your lymph systems and your lymph nodes. So if there's like excess buildup in the legs, now with them working with gravity, everything can sort of come back to the body and have an even distribution. Cool. Cool, so take one more breath here. And regardless of where we are, as we start to lower down, we'll see if we can build up enough control and momentum to slowly bring ourselves all the way back up to a seated position. Coming into our final pose, so taking a cross-legged stance. Sit on a block if you would rather, but rather than crossing the ankles, try to have one heel into the body and the other heel in front so that the legs are a little bit balanced. And then we're going to take our hands to the tops of our knees, close down into a mudra, so the thumb on top of the index fingernail. Really try to extend out the arms, roll the shoulders down the body. And then we're just going to drop our chin to our chest, close down the eyes for a second. We're just going to hold here for about 8 breaths, listening to the pattern of the breathing, seeing if there are any physiological sensations that the body is telling you about, any changes to the start of practice. Maybe even noticing any psychological changes. Try to really ground down through both butt cheeks, find length through the spine. 2 more breaths here. So keep those eyes closed, slowly start to straighten up through the head. So you will be gazing forwards, but your eyes still closed. Release the hands, draw them to your heart center, palm to palm. And just take a moment to thank yourself for your practice today. Before bowing the head, if you would like, you can take thumbs to your lips, then to your forehead, then back down to heart center. Namaste. And when you're ready to come back to your room, rub those palms, build up some heat. Hands go over the eyes, and come back when you are ready. So thank you so much for joining. I really hope you enjoyed this Ashtanga inspired class. If you had any questions, comments or feedback, as always, please feel free to pop it in the comments below, and I will see you next time.